You know what's really weird? Donny Osmond has been one of the biggest stars in entertainment for over 50 years. He has been on television, in movies, on stage, and all over social media. But there's someone incredibly important in his life who almost never appears with him in public. That person is his wife, Debbie. And when Donny finally opened up about why you never see her, the reason was so touching, so unexpected, that it made everyone see their relationship in a completely different way. Before we get into this beautiful story, let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when Donny Osmond was just a kid with a microphone and a dream that would change his entire life. Donny was born in 1957 in Utah, and he came from a big musical family. If you've ever heard of the Osmonds, that's his family. They were like the Jackson 5, but with their own special style. Donny started performing when he was just 5 years old. Can you imagine being 5 and already on stage in front of thousands of people? Most kids that age are learning to tie their shoes, but Donny was already becoming a star. By the time he was a teenager, Donny Osmond wasn't just famous. He was mega famous. We're talking about the kind of fame where girls would scream and faint just from seeing his picture. He had hit songs on the radio. He had his own variety show on television with his sister Marie. His face was on lunchboxes and posters in bedrooms all across America. Everywhere he went, crowds of fans would chase him down the street. He couldn't go to a restaurant without being mobbed. He couldn't walk through a mall without security guards. His life was absolutely crazy. But in the middle of all that craziness, something really important happened. Donny met a girl named Debbie Glenn. And this wasn't just any girl. This was the girl who would change everything for him. Donny met Debbie when he was 15 years old. They were both teenagers, just kids really, but there was something special between them right from the start. Debbie wasn't like the screaming fans who chase him everywhere. She didn't care that he was famous. She didn't want his autograph or want to talk about his latest song. She just saw him as a regular person, as Donny, not as Donny Osmond, the superstar. And for someone who was living in the spotlight every single day, that was like finding water in the desert. Think about what it must have been like for Donny back then. Every single person he met wanted something from him. They wanted a picture, an autograph, a piece of his time, a piece of his life. But Debbie was different. She wanted to know the real him, the guy behind all the fame and the flashing cameras and the screaming crowds. She wanted to know what made him laugh, what made him think, what his dreams were beyond just being famous. They started dating, and it was like Debbie became his safe place in a world that had gone completely insane. When he was with her, he could just be himself. He didn't have to perform or smile for cameras or pretend to be perfect. He could just be a teenage boy figuring out life, and that meant everything to him. But dating wasn't easy. Not even close. Donny's schedule was absolutely packed. He was recording albums, doing concerts, filming television shows, traveling all over the world. Sometimes he'd be gone for weeks or even months at a time. And remember, this was back in the 1970s, long before cell phones or video calls or even the internet. If you wanted to talk to someone, you had to use a regular telephone. And if you were traveling in different countries, that was really expensive and really difficult. So Donny and Debbie did something that seems almost impossible to imagine today. They wrote letters to each other. Actual letters with paper and pens and envelopes and stamps. Donny has talked about how he would write to Debbie whenever he had a free moment, telling her about where he was and what he was seeing and how much he missed her. And she would write back, telling him about her normal teenage life, her school, her friends, the everyday things that kept him connected to reality when his own life felt like a whirlwind. Those letters became their lifeline. When everything else in Donny's world was chaos and craziness and constant pressure, those letters from Debbie reminded him that there was something real and solid and true waiting for him back home. She became his anchor, the thing that kept him grounded when fame threatened to sweep him away. They dated for 3 years, which might not sound like a long time, but when you're a teenager and you're trying to maintain a relationship while one of you is literally one of the most famous people in the world, 3 years is like a lifetime. They had to deal with jealous fans who would send mean letters to Debbie. They had to deal with tabloid magazines making up stories about Donny dating other celebrities. They had to deal with the constant pressure of his career pulling them apart. But they made it work. And when Donny was 18 years old and Debbie was 17, they made a huge decision. They decided to get married. Now, you have to understand how big of a deal this was. Donny's managers and the people running his career were absolutely terrified. Back in those days, teen idols weren't supposed to get married. The whole appeal was that they were available, that every girl watching could dream that maybe, just maybe, they had a chance with his famous heartthrob. If Donny got married, they worried that a career would be over. They thought his fans would abandon him. They thought the magic would disappear. But Donny didn't care. He loved Debbie, and he wasn't going to let a career or anyone else's opinion stop him from marrying her. So on May 8, 1978, Donny and Debbie got married in the Salt Lake Temple in Utah. They were so young, barely adults, but they were absolutely sure about each other. And you know what? His managers were wrong. Donny's career didn't end. If anything, it showed people that he was genuine and real, not just some manufactured teen idol. He was a person who knew what mattered most in life, and that made people respect him even more. But here's where the story gets really interesting. After they got married, something started to happen. Or actually, something stopped happening. Debbie started to disappear from the public eye. At first, people didn't really notice. But as years went by and Donny continued to be in the spotlight, doing shows and concerts and interviews and appearances, people started to wonder, where was his wife? Why wasn't she at award shows with him? Why wasn't she walking red carpets? Why weren't there pictures of them together at Hollywood parties? Some people started to whisper. Maybe they were having problems. Maybe she didn't support his career. Maybe she was jealous of all the attention he got. Maybe their marriage wasn't as perfect as everyone thought. The rumors and speculation grew and grew, and everyone had a theory about why Donny Osmond's wife was never around. For years and years, Donny didn't really address it directly. He would mention Debbie in interviews sometimes, talking about how important she was to him and how much he loved her. But he never really explained why she stayed away from the spotlight. And that just made people more curious. Then, finally, Donny started to open up. And when he did, the real reason was so much more beautiful and meaningful than anyone had guessed. Donny explained that the decision for Debbie to stay private wasn't because of problems in their marriage. It wasn't because she didn't support him. It was actually the complete opposite. It was because they both understood something really important about fame and about protecting what matters most. Donny had grown up in the spotlight. He knew what it was like to have cameras following you everywhere. He knew what it was like to have people writing stories about you, some true and some completely made up. He knew what it was like to have strangers feel like they owned a piece of your life. And it wasn't always fun. In fact, it was often really hard and really painful. He saw what fame did to people. He saw how it could invade every part of your life, how it could twist normal things into drama, how it could make simple moments impossible. And he loved Debbie too much to force her into that world. See, Debbie never asked for fame. She didn't marry Donny because he was celebrity. She married him because she loved the person he was, the real person underneath all the glitz and glamour. She had seen him before all the massive fame, and she had fallen in love with his heart, his character, his soul. The fame was just something that came with him, not the reason she wanted to be with him. And Donny respected that. He understood that just because he had chosen a life in the public, I didn't mean his wife had to as well. So together, they made a conscious decision. They decided that their private life would stay private. They decided that their home would be a sanctuary, a place where fame couldn't reach them, where they could just be Donny and Debbie, not Donny Osmond, a star, and his wife. Debbie became the foundation of their family. While Donny was out performing and traveling and working, Debbie was home taking care of their 5 sons. Yes, 5 boys. Can you imagine how busy that household must have been? She was the one making sure homework got done, making sure everyone got to soccer practice or music lessons, making sure there was dinner on the table, making sure their home was filled with love and normalcy. And that word, normalcy, was really important to both of them. They wanted their kid to grow up as normally as possible. They didn't want their sons to be known as Donny Osmond's kids. They wanted them to just be kids, to have friends and go to school and play sports and figure out who they were without the pressure of fame hanging over them. By keeping Debbie out of the spotlight, they were able to give their children a more normal life. The paparazzi weren't camping outside their house. Tabloids weren't writing stories about their family. Their kids could go to the mall or the movies or hang out with friends without being recognized or bothered. And that was a gift that Donny and Debbie gave them by keeping their private life private. Donny has talked about how Debbie is his biggest supporter. She watches his shows. She encourages him. She gives him advice. She celebrates his successes and comforts him during his disappointments. But she does all of that from behind the scenes, not because she has to hide, but because that's where she's most comfortable and where she can be most effective. There's something really powerful about what they did. In a world where everyone seems to want to be famous, where people share every moment of their lives on social media, where privacy seems like an old-fashioned idea, Donny and Debbie chose something different. They chose to protect their relationship and their family by keeping it sacred and private. And here's the thing. It worked. Really, really worked. Donny and Debbie have now been married for over 45 years. Think about that. In Hollywood, where marriages often don't last more than a few years, where couples are constantly breaking up and getting back together and breaking up again, Donny and Debbie have been together for almost half a century. Donny says that Debbie is the reason he's been able to have such a long and successful career. When things get tough, when the pressure gets too much, when the critics are harsh or the shows don't go well, he can come home to Debbie and remember what really matters. She's the one who keeps him humble and grounded and focused on what's truly important in life. He's also been really honest about the challenges they've faced. Being married for over 40 years isn't always easy, even when you're not famous. There were times when they struggled. Times when Donny's career meant he was away from home too much. Times when they had to work through problems and disagreements like any couple does. But they always chose to work through it together. They always chose each other. Donny has said in interviews that one of the secrets to their long marriage is that they never stopped dating each other. Even after all these years, even with 5 kids and now grandkids, they still make time for just the two of them. They go on dates. They take trips together. They find ways to connect and remember why they fell in love in the first place. Another thing that's helped their marriage is their shared faith. Both Donny and Debbie are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and their religious beliefs are really important to them. They've talked about how their faith gives them a foundation for their marriage, a set of values and principles that guide them through tough times. Over the years, Donny has become more and more open about sharing his appreciation for Debbie. He posts about her on social media sometimes, sharing sweet messages about their anniversary or just telling the world how much he loves her. But even in those posts, he's careful. He shares his feelings, but he doesn't invade her privacy. He doesn't post pictures of her all the time or share personal details about their life. He respects the boundaries they've set. And people have really responded to this. Instead of being disappointed that they can't see more Debbie, fans have actually grown to respect and admire the way Donny protects his wife and his marriage. They see it as romantic, as a sign of real love that goes beyond just appearing together at fancy events or posting couple photos online. There's a lesson in their story that goes way beyond just celebrity marriages. In today's world, we're all constantly connected. We share everything online. We post pictures of our food, our vacations, our kids, our relationships. Sometimes it feels like if something isn't posted online, it didn't really happen. But Donny and Debbie's relationship shows us that some of the most precious things in life are the things we keep just for ourselves. Their story reminds us that you don't have to share everything to prove your love is real. You don't need public validation or likes or comments to know that your relationship matters. Sometimes the most meaningful moments are the quiet ones, the private ones, the ones that nobody else sees or knows about. It also shows us that you can pursue your dreams and your career without sacrificing what matters most. Donny has had an incredible career that spanned over 5 decades. He has accomplished amazing things. But through it all, he never forgot that his wife and his family were more important than any award or hit song or sold-out show. He figured out how to have both, but he did it by setting clear boundaries and priorities. When Donny talks about Debbie now, you can hear the love and gratitude in his voice. He doesn't just say she's his wife. He calls her his best friend, his partner, his rock, the love of his life. After more than 45 years together, he's still crazy about her. And that's not because they have a perfect relationship or because they've never had problems. It's because they've chosen each other over and over again through everything life has thrown at them. So the next time you wonder why you never see Donny Osmond's wife at big events or walking red carpets, you'll know the real reason. It's not drama or scandal or problems in their marriage. It's love. It's respect. It's two people who understood from the very beginning what really matters and who have spent their entire marriage protecting and nurturing that. In a world that's obsessed with fame and attention and being seen, Donny and Debbie chose something radical. They chose privacy. They chose to keep their most precious relationship sacred and protected from the harsh lights of fame. And that choice, that decision to put their marriage and their family ahead of public approval, is why their love has lasted so long and grown so strong. Their story is a reminder that real love isn't about grand public gestures or social media posts or making sure everyone knows how happy you are. Real love is about the everyday choices you make, the way you treat each other when nobody's watching, the commitment you have to protecting and cherishing what you've built together. Donny Osmond could have easily brought his wife into the spotlight. She could have been at every event, every interview, every red carpet. But instead, he gave her something far more valuable. He gave her the freedom to be herself, to live her life, to raise her family without the burden of fame. And in doing that, he showed the world what it really means to love someone. So there you have it, the beautiful, touching reason why you never see Donny Osmond's wife. It's not a sad story or a scandalous one. It's actually one of the most romantic stories in all of Hollywood. It's a story about two people who found each other when they were just kids and who have spent their whole lives choosing each other, protecting each other, and building a life together that's based on love, respect, and shared values. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, make sure to hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message about what real love looks like. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story like this one. We're here bringing you the most heartwarming, touching, and incredible stories from the world of entertainment, and we'd love to have you as part of our community. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, the best things in life are often the ones we keep closest to our hearts.